you think the development of heightened self-awareness is detrimental to like our generation versus our parents?
I think that to some degree it can be.
Of course,
I think that
but
it
that's
can
the yin-yang
cause
of
that.
everything,
Yes,
right.
I think that it can and is showing to, like I was saying, cause some level of contentness, and that's kind of a poor word. It's kind of a poor. I don't, like I said, I don't mean that people are okay with being in these mental states, but yeah, to some degree, it only heightens our ability to stay in that
Contentness,
to stay in that comfortability.
I had a whole like intro with me and Cameron. I was like, "What's up, y'all? Welcome back to the podcast. It's your boy, Mr. Thompson, and we're here with the post-workout podcast. Today we have our guests Jesse Noth and Tyler Harris."
And then you said, "I'm not gonna do that." By the way, everyone.
He was like, "I appreciate you not doing it."
Yeah.
Meanwhile, we did it, right?
I think it was good. It was good.
Did you guys get a chance to watch the new episodes?
I saw that one. I did see the one with Cam. The one with Cam, yeah.
I didn't watch the 3 years no nut video.
Yeah,
I didn't watch that yet either.
Right.
That's intense.
Danny does. That's the thing, man. Danny's. I mean, you can attest to each time we did a podcast. Like every time we did a podcast, there was a feeling, especially when you watch yourself back, of, damn, I feel like I'm a different person than I was back then.
Mm-hmm.
And that was Danny's first time experiencing that. So I think he was a lot more comfortable, like actually getting into the nuance of how our normal conversations go, rather than being caught up in like the cameras and stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean?
That was something that I kind of sat on for the last few days, and even when we first started talking about doing the podcast, was especially having you here too, Mitch. I've known you since we were 8 years old.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like we're family at this point. This was something that I looked forward to more than anything else, and I'm thankful that my first real opportunity ever on a camera is able to be with somebody who I'm very comfortable with.
I think
it makes things a lot easier.
Like even like going off that, what you said, the original whole point of this, like if nothing comes of any of this, which is not the goal, it's that the people on it use it as like a journal, as a thing they can look back on. Like even on my worst days, I'll go back and watch those videos, and I'm like, I said that, I spoke that truth, I have to live that truth.
Mm-hmm.
I said do this hype shit, I have to do that shit.
Right, literally.
Personal accountability is the hardest thing.
Exactly. I can't lie.
That's an easy ass way to
That's
keep
me.
yourself accountable. Listen.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, I like it's like Danny. I think he kind of like probably saw some of that, and he was like, yeah, I can live and do that and be true and know that what I'm saying right now, I'm probably gonna be looking at this 5 months from now.
Right. And I want to see something that's worthy of looking back on, especially in terms of the growth that I've incurred. Like the growth you've incurred. I think of the video, I can't remember who was wearing white. I think I was wearing all white, right?
Yeah.
Right. I just think of the video where somebody's wearing an all white outfit.
It wasn't me.
It wasn't you, I don't think.
It wasn't me.
And you were, but like looking back on the mindset, A, you can see the physique, but B, the mindset and the way you would even articulate words, the confidence or the lack thereof.
Yeah.
Versus out of the 5 that we've
Just
recorded.
say it, Mitch. I was a sad fuck. Just say it.
We've all been there. We've all been there.
We've all, and
Hey.
I think we all like recurringly get there. You know what I mean? It's not
I was
like
just
it's not
having
like we
this
grow out of
conversation
that.
today. I was just having this conversation with Danny today. He's an incredibly emotional person, and he's very willing to admit that he feels things very deeply for others and for himself. I'm pretty similar. I've always been pretty emotional. You played sports with me. You grew up with me.
Not Danny on the podcast. Different Danny.
No. Different Danny. And we were talking about just our generation's mental health in general. We were kind of discussing how, to some degree, we've become more okay than our parents' generations and former generations with, admitting we have issues going on and getting help. However, I also kind of think that as a society, we've allowed ourselves maybe to become a little content in being in those periods of our life. One thing will happen, we're on our upward trajectory, and one thing will happen, and you pull yourself back down the mountain, 3 or 4 pegs. When really it was maybe somebody else's bigger issue to deal with. It just had a minor effect on you, and it was some sad news for you, or some, something a little upsetting. I think that you can stop and smell the roses and understand that every single day is a process.
Grateful, stay grateful.
Absolutely, absolutely, and be grateful to wake up every morning. That's a phenomenal starting point for anyone trying to deal with things.
Me and Mitch even talked about that. It's like that. I had that rock in my windshield one day, cracking my windshield.
I literally was thinking of that.
Bro, like I could have been like, God damn it! But I was
There's
like,
a rock on my windshield on this day.
just stay grateful, be thankful for what you have, and you try not to get pulled down as easy as it is, but Yeah, I do think
easier said than done. Certainly,
I never really thought about that. I think we are more open to the idea that people struggle mentally with their health, but we're more content than we ever have been with allowing people to.
Yeah.
That's really interesting.
I think it starts individually because we're more content with allowing ourselves to feel like that. And if we're okay with ourselves feeling like that, then we accept that everyone else
I think that's
may be stuck that way too.
And
right?
that's why I think like you are someone that just, I mean, you hold the accountability for someone even if they don't want it.
Yeah.
You're like,
and I don't mean that people choose to be sad for no reason or anything like that. Yeah. I just simply mean that events can transpire that tumble and they just keep doing that.
Right, literally.
100%.
You know, and we at some point we have to, in order to live our lives and live hopefully as happy and as rewarding of a life as we can, we have to at some point say, shitty things happen. Mm-hmm. Shitty things happen.
That's when Jesse, you talking about that being there as a beacon of accountability for people, even when they don't want you to be
Like, I guarantee you are fully willing to not be my friend if you see me being an idiot, like doing dumb shit.
But that's the point. If you actually, me and Cam were just talking about this on the last podcast. It'll be in one of the next clips coming up. Is if you actually love and care about somebody, and you're going to spend the time to even indulge in partaking in coexisting with them, it's like, why wouldn't you do everything you could to make them better?
Yeah,
and that making them better is holding them to an accountability standard of being a version of themselves that is something, without getting him too particular with, but we all have people in our lives where it's like, if we just know if they would do a little more effort each day, how their standard of living will be exponentially better.
Yeah, absolutely.
But just, you can't, again, like me and Trey said in that episode, you can only lead a horse to water. You can't make him drink.
That's true. Yeah, even with yourself, you know, even with yourself, you have to be able to, drink the water.
Right.
You know, you can talk all
you have to want
the
water. Say, you have to want it.
Yeah, you really do. Even if you've already drank a lot.
Yeah.
Even if you've already drank a lot.
You've already quenched your thirst. Yeah, there's still some.
I think you always have to be hungry for not only more knowledge, but more information about yourself in general, you know?
Like you said, shitty things are going to happen. You can't calculate when the rock is going to hit your window, but if it hits your window, it's how you're going to react to it. And how you can react to it is putting it in perspective that at the end of the day, bro, you have the blessing to be able to sit and fucking worry about that rock hitting your windshield.
Yes, you do. You do.
You have the blessing to be able to even fret and dwell on the ineptitudes of your life standing when just 50 years ago you had ancestors who didn't know if they were going to find food the next day. And again, knowing history puts it in perspective, and then you think about how many people throughout all of human history were literate enough to even be able to read and understand history.
Not very many until very, very recently. Until very
Too
recently.
many.
Right. Yeah.
When do you know when when do you think writing was invented? If you guys had to guess.
I mean, writing?
I don't know.
Like things being documented.
I would presume that the Bible is one of the earlier texts, but I don't know.
So the Bible is technically, every story would happen like this throughout all of human history. You had oral tradition, which means you had humans orating the history, the wisdom, and then they would teach it on to the next generation.
Certainly.
And that happened for tens of thousands of years until finally humans started documenting the knowledge on clay tablets, but on paper, let's just say, right? Then once you start documenting information on paper, you can then teach it to generations without the necessity to orate it. And what that means is when you're orating the history, there's always going to be the room for misinterpretation and variance in the knowledge being passed on.
Absolutely. There's always room for error.
Right. But when you document it in stone, when it's set in stone, it's there. It's.
Is that where the saying comes from?
I think it is.
Did we just discover something? Look at us. That's interesting because
let's set it in stone.
Yeah. I would assume, thinking like that, the Egyptians were probably one of the first with hieroglyphics and things like that to write, if you will. Then
exactly. You had iconography, which was
I learned about that in my art history
Exactly.
class.
It's just icons and it's symbols that described or represented certain words or ideas or concepts.
It was big among hunter gatherers and things like that in the early in the Ice Age.
So if you had to guess, let's just say humans have been the way we are physically, mentally, the way we can processed stuff. Let's just say we've been like this for 100,000 years. The skulls show we've probably been behaviorally modern humans for around 200,000 years, around that. But let's just say on the conservative end, we've only been like this for 100,000 years.
Yeah.
In that time, how long do you think it's been that we've had writing?
In the last 100,000 years. Certainly less than half of that, I would think. Less than half of that, I would think.
Do you have a guess?
I'm with this guess, yeah.
Nice. So the last recession of the ice sheets, which means the ice age ended around 10,000 years ago.
Okay.
We started writing around 5,000 years ago.
That's wild.
Yeah. There may have been papyri and other stuff that were written.
And certainly we can assume that there probably was, right?
For sure. And if you look at like Graham Hancock and a lot of these, let's just say alternative archaeologists or archaeological historians who say like certain sites like Göbekli Tepe, which is this site in Turkey that dates to around 12,000 years ago before the last recession of the ice sheets. And it looks like a hunter-gatherer sort of collecting location where they would do ritualistic and they would perform ritualistic ceremonies and stuff.
And those are the earliest findings of that type of communication type of stuff, is the rituals from 10 to 12,000 years. Yeah, that I learned a lot about that in my art history class. Very interesting, actually.
Right, so let's just say agriculture, humans transitioning from hunter-gatherers, humans being able to sit down, grow their food, being able to literally chill in one area, be able to hold and maintain that area for multiple generations. If it's been 100,000 years humans have been around, that's only been around since about 8,000 BC.
Wow.
So about 10,000 years, right? And realistically, humans only started actually establishing the cities that we've found in with archaeological studies or with archaeological surveys, for them to have actually settled down in cities around 5,000 BCE. So around 7,000 years ago, which means they were farming and shit, but they didn't have cities for another like 3,000 years through that farming process.
That is not that long ago.
Yeah.
Wow.
With that being said,
I was like, where is this going back?
Right. With that being said,
I remembered there was a point.
How long do you think it's been since knowledge and written knowledge has been democratized in the sense that the majority of people were able to read and write?
Oh, that's an even more interesting question. Well, a lot of it started with the scientific revolution and the Protestant Reformation in Europe. I know that's where a lot of social upcomings started. I don't know, though.
Do you know when the Protestant Reformation was?
It was in the 1600s.
16th century, 1500s.
1500s, that's right. And the revolution was just before that.
It was right around that same time.
And the scientific, a lot of people can kind of tie them together because you had Newton during the scientific revolution, and a lot of European philosophers, Voltaire and John Locke in particular, really, really admired Newton's work. So
and they were all Christians.
Yeah, they were. They were. Absolutely.
With that said, that around 1500 is when the printing press was established. And the printing press, which a guy named Johannes Gutenberg.
Johannes
Gutenberg. He's the one who established the mass production of being able to essentially print books. And the Bible was one of the first mass-produced books that people were able to read for the first time ever. That was like 1460. That wasn't even 600 years ago.
Yeah.
So if writing's been around for 10,000, if writing's been around for, let's just say, like 8,000 years.
Really organized writing.
Organized writing has been around for, let's say, 5,000 years, and then democratized knowledge in the sense of writing being mass available for people has only been around for 600 years. Yeah. So with all of that being said, think about legit the people that nowadays take advantage of being able to even be self-aware to dwell on their emotional ineptitudes, then being able to think about how shitty they have it in life and being able to destigmatize, let's say, the emotional angst of being a modern human.
Yeah.
We have the time nowadays, which our parents didn't have. We have the knowledge nowadays, which our parents didn't have.
Yeah.
Because even...
It's almost detrimental. That's a fair take. I think it's interesting, though, because I don't necessarily disagree with you.
What do you think is detrimental?
But I'm curious. The fact that we have so much. No. The fact that we have all of that knowledge and all of that time together.
Right. So that's what I'm saying.
Is allowing for some things that have frankly never been seen in human history.
We never had time to think about
on mass
it.
scales.
You think the development you think the heightened the development of heightened self-awareness is detrimental to like our generation versus our parents?
I think that to some degree it can be.
Of course,
I think that
but
it
that's the
can
yin yang
cause
of
that.
everything,
Yes,
right.
I think that it can and is showing to, like I was saying, cause some level of contentness. And that's kind of a poor word. It's kind of a poor. I don't, like I said, I don't mean that people are okay with being in these mental states, but yeah, to some degree, it only heightens our ability to stay in that
Contentness.
to stay in that comfortability,
Right,
or
comfortability.
lack thereof, I guess. But
I'm gonna switch these up real quick.
you're good. That was money. I was tracking. I was following.
I felt like I was
I was
trying to
following.
go full circle with it.
Yeah, no. That's why I kept chiming in, because I'm literally learning about a lot of this stuff.
Good.
Right now.
Burn nightlight. Do you know when writing was invented? What a pompous ass.
Of course I don't fucking know that.
No,
Mitch.
mid-podcast, like, do you know when writing was invented? I'm like,
Does anybody but you know that, Mitchell? I don't think so.